Crisis got even more complicated today when the government unveiled a new plan to pump $800 billion more into the economy. Now, that's on top of all the other money that's on the table or in the pipeline right now. We're talking about three massive piles of money. Is it confusing? Absolutely. But here's how it breaks out for you. First, you have the $700 billion in the original bailout plan. That's the one that Congress passed last month. About half that money's already been spent. Then, Obama's economic stimulus plan in the works, and separate from the bailout money, economists estimate the stimulus plan is going to cost between $500 and $700 billion with a B dollars. And then the third pile of cash is the $800 billion that was announced today. The Fed and the Treasury say they're going to use it to free up credit for consumers and small businesses. So three separate giant piles of money. If it all sounds familiar, it kind of is, but there are also some important differences. It's your money, your future, and CNN chief business correspondent Ali Velshi joins us now to kind of walk us through it all. All right, so first, the bailout plan is supposed to help consumers more. How exactly, Ali, is that going to work?
This will be a walk through the jungle, so stay with me. The way the world used to work before the credit freeze was that big investors would lend money to companies or banks that needed it, and they'd go through the investment banks. And ever since the investment banks sort of disappeared, the government, they didn't disappear. There are still two investment banks. There are three of them that sort of have left the face of our landscape. The government took that role. So here's how it worked post-bailout. The government would lend money to major corporations. That's called commercial paper. And those corporations needed that. Those are short-term loans because they use that to pay operating expenses, including your salary. So that's why the unfreezing of the credit crisis mattered to you on the corporate side. But on the other side, the government also became a lender to major banks. And the thinking behind this is that those banks, that the money that went into the banks would trickle down to you in terms of loans, particularly consumer loans, credit cards, car loans, student loans, things like that. Well, that didn't work. So today, part of the announcement was a shift in that. What the government is going to do now is it's going to continue to lend money to banks, but it won't be a loan. They'll actually be buying up some of that consumer credit, those car loans, those student loans, those credit cards, those lines of credit. The idea is that the government is giving money to the banks in a way that is more directed at the individual. So in some cases, the government had previously given money to banks and they didn't spend it in a way that was helpful to people, didn't loosen the credit crisis. The money didn't get to you. This is designed to get to you. $200 billion. It's a massive change in the way that things are being done. And we're hoping, Soledad, that this will result in people being able to access money. If they're able to do that, that means they can continue to spend, and that might give us some sense of this economy coming back on track. Because right now you got two problems. One is people can't get credit if they want it, and the second one is even if they could get credit, because of the difficulty in this economy and the danger of losing a job, people aren't even willing to spend.
Yeah, big giant problems there. So you mentioned that, my math with the billions, not so great, but so walk me through here. $200 billion you pointed out is going to go to the consumer lending, buying, etc. So that leaves us $600 billion. What happens to that?
That money is going to be used to buy mortgages from Fannie and Freddie and Ginnie Mae. So the organizations that buy mortgages from your bank, this replenishes that money. Now, that is still not going to help anybody in the country with a troubled mortgage or who's up for foreclosure. What it will, though, do is that if you are looking to buy a house, that makes more money available through the traditional mortgage channels. And if you're looking to sell your house because maybe you're in trouble, you want to get out from that debt, chances are the buyer now has more access to money. There's a better chance of you being able to make that sale. So it might somehow help the housing market.
But what about those people who fall in that other category? You might lose your job, you can't pay your mortgage. Like 84,000 people last month alone, their homes went into foreclosure. So they're not looking for a loan. They're looking to be saved.
The worst off of Americans remain unhelped by this situation. There was a bit of a moratorium on some people with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guaranteed loans until January 9th, but bottom line is the worst off of people have still not got a solution.
Do you think that there's going to have to be a solution? I mean, everyone keeps saying until you bail out those people, the worst off people, you really cannot fully bring back the economy.
I think there's going to have to be some aid for people who are drastically in trouble, in many cases through no fault of their own.
All right, Ali, as always, I've got to ask you to stick around because we're going to continue to talk about this. Talk about the politics of the bailout.